Welcome everybody. This is Tammy Lynn Chambers, and this is episode 1 of the Ascend podcast. From 3D to 5D with a sprinkle of humor and a dash of love. The song you're hearing at the intro to this podcast was composed by my son, Nyoka. Just giving him a shout out. Because he says, I didn't even tell him. And he says, Mom, are you going to do a podcast? I have music for you. So I didn't even tell him I was doing a podcast. So I was like, okay, Spirit. Working in mysterious ways. So I want to welcome all listeners to this podcast, first of all, and kind of share a little bit of my vision, since this is episode 1, how it came about. And, you know, I'm just finding my way through it at this point. But today, as was customary, so I started a little series a while back called Goddess Tea Party, and Marilyn Monroe had been on my list of people to kind of quote unquote interview, and she had always been like first on the list, and then out of the blue, Freddie Mercury appeared, and he's like, he wanted to be the first one to be interviewed for that podcast. So I brought him on, and we had an amazing time, and he actually reached out to me in kind of quite a different way. So when I got the guidance to do this podcast, I was thinking, like, how do I want to do this? Am I going to have guests? Am I going to, I wasn't really sure. And then he kind of knocked on my door again, and here's Freddie, and he wants to be part of the first inaugural, launch of this podcast. So we're going to be talking to him a little bit, because there's a lot of different, there's kind of 2 different energies coming in for the month of March. So I'm recording this at the beginning of March, which is also right before the March new moon is when this episode is going to go out and going to be recorded. And in my new membership group, which I haven't, this is like my official kind of first time I'm bringing this up, but in my new membership group, this month, the focus is going to be on death and rebirth, specifically kind of around egoic death and rebirth, because the focus for that, for the teachings of the membership site for 2019 is going to be ego, energy, and enlightenment. And so that death and rebirth is also kind of, it sounds like, going to be the focus of my work and my own personal journey for March. And it's happening, already playing out in the March energies that I'm getting a sense of, in terms of there's a lot of these kind of bigger limiting beliefs and blocks within us that still are doing, I'm not even going to say final clearing, but there's going to be some big clearing of those bigger things for March, which is the death side of the topic. And there's going to be death in many forms. So this podcast is, we're going to be real, and we're going to explore kind of both the light and the dark side of things. But there has to be the light side for me to be able to balance out the dark side, because I just don't want to do shadow work the whole month of March. Are you crazy? So we're going to bring in Freddie, which I think he's going to help lighten up the energy a little bit. I also envision us doing, light language, quantum healing, whatever. I don't script these episodes other than I knew I wanted to do the podcast, and I know I want Freddie Mercury to be our first guest on episode 1, and I know at a high level the death and rebirth thing. So this is pretty much how I do all of my work. And if you're familiar with Jess Lively, that's how her podcasts are run. It's really just she's channeling her higher self. So that's much how I do my own work. That's how I write my books. That's how I create my classes. Nothing is scripted or detailed out in advance. There's just like a high level knowing of what the topic is going to be. And then as I'm talking to you right now, I'm quote unquote channeling my higher self. My guides are here with us. Freddie's going to step in at some point, and we're going to get to talk to him about what he thinks the topic is all about. And, that's how it goes. So being unscripted, today I'm inside. Mainly I work outside. So, it's a real life environment. There's no fancy studio that I work out of, which I prefer that way. I'm in front of the window with a candle lit, holding my labradorite, which is my new moonstone, some music playing in the background just because I like to do that. And, you may hear a dog bark or my son say something from the other room, and, it's real life, people. So, on the death side of things, I don't know. There's just a lot going on there. I think death in many layers. And I talked about this, I don't even remember what thing I was recording. Some YouTube, maybe it was my full moon. I don't know. Some YouTube where I said there's a grief cloud over the earth. And I've heard from different astrologers and people that I listen to, some of the teachers I listen to, that grief cloud is going to intensify for the month of March, which is, it all has to do with death in the physical layer, death in the emotional body, mental and emotional bodies, and for some people, my guides are saying a spiritual death. So on the flip side of that, so we have to work through the grief energy, which is part of what I call it. I call it grief tending. And there are other folks that do grief tending as part of their work. But I want to also temper that and go to the light side. And there's going to be a lot of amazing things happening this month as well on the rebirth side of things, right? Because Ostara, the pagan holiday for the spring, some people call it the spring equinox. Ostara is later this month too. And there is a rebirth there because that is spring, the light coming back to the planet on the for the northern hemisphere anyway. But it's equal day, equal night, hence the equinox part of it. It's the days and night of equal length, and the celebration of light coming back. So I want to also focus that because there's many dreams and aspirations and goals that we have that are going to come to fruition starting in March. We're going to see a lot of momentum around that. And so there's this kind of trust factor that's going to be sitting in the middle of the death and the rebirth. Like things are going to be dying off, and we have to trust that the new that replaces it, because there's never a spirit, the universe, whatever you want to call it, the law of physics, there's never a void space. Something always replaces something that's lost or released or whatever. So out with the old, in with the new, right? So new is going to be coming in to replace these little deaths that are going to be happening on the one side of the scale. And so I just want to like put light to that. Like that's the humor that I want to inject into what's going to be happening for March. And just to try to keep it light while still recognizing and honoring all of the shadow work that's going to be done, and all of the death that precludes the rebirth. So I'm going to bring in Freddie right now, because he's been waiting since the show began, just to kind of see where he wants to take this topic. I don't have any thought out questions for him, because last time he kind of said it all beautifully himself, and he does like to take control of the project or the situation himself. So I might as well just let him come in and tell me what he would like us to know. Okay, so he's coming in very flamboyantly, like, yes, darling, it's death and rebirth, but we're going to make a big show of it, and we're going to let everybody know that you can't keep a good man, or woman in this case, down. Oh my gosh. Yes. Okay. So he says you need to look at death from a different perspective. That it's all a really big show. He's saying it's all a really big show, and we are the cast of characters playing out this play, Arthur's death. So he's talking about King Arthur. So Muerta Arthur. We're playing out this play of death and life, and there's no sense in being morose about it. Like, I can hear his accent, like, there's no sense in being morose about it, darling. You just need to get on with the show and do the work, and, get over yourself and get on with it. And so he does not, from his perspective, there's work to be done, but there's no sense in wallowing in he's saying, like, the depression side of it. He's like, we just need to do the work, he said. So I'm going to kind of channel as him, because it's kind of easier, and just see what he wants to say rather than me kind of going back and forth. Let's let him come out completely. So, darlings, it's just a matter of playing the game of life. There's no sense in getting all morose about it. You just need to get on with the show, to show yourself that you can do this work no matter what. I spent so much of my life sitting behind the curtain and sad for the things that I felt that I lacked, the understanding I didn't have about myself and how the world thought I should be. And I spent too much time worried about what others thought of me, even to the detriment of my own physical health. And I don't want you beautiful souls to have this misunderstanding. It's just life. It's just how it is. Death and rebirth happens constantly all day long. And now that I'm in the spirit realms, I can see that so clearly, all the things I misunderstood as a child and as a young man, and into my adulthood, that I continued to beat myself up over my misunderstandings of life and other people and their thoughts and how people perceived me, and did I do the right thing? Was I doing the right thing? Oh, poor little Freddie. He might be doing the wrong thing. He's going to punish himself now by drinking some more and doing some drugs. But I realize now that those things, darlings, those things were not the man that I really was on the inside, who dimmed my light. Sometimes you may not think I dimmed my light, because you saw me very flamboyant on stage and at parties and making the town with my friends. But oftentimes I dimmed my light so that others would see me in a certain way, and then they could not disapprove of me. And I don't want you, my darlings, to dim your light. Ever. Ever. Never. Never dim your light. I can see him like pointing at me. Like, never dim your light. Oh gosh. It's going to make me get emotional. Because he's saying your light, my darlings, your light is all you have within you. It's the spark. Your soul. Your soul's essence is so powerful. You must never, ever dim your light for others to make you feel like you are being approved by someone. It doesn't matter at all what others think. You must be you. You must be you. This is my message, my darlings. This is my message. I see all of you beautiful people, and I know I love you all so much. And now I can see and understand from a completely different space in my heart how challenging it is to be a human in this world, but how utterly fantastic and amazing it can also be at the same time. And I want to be your guide for this magical month of March, to walk you through the death and rebirth process. For each one of you, it will be different. Each one of you, it will be amazing, utterly fantastic, and yet somewhere sad at the same time. He said, he's telling me I'm going to give you a playlist, darling, of my music, and some music that used to make me feel utterly fantastic when I was feeling so very low. And I want you to put this playlist together for people, because music does heal the world, can heal the world. And I want all of you lovely listeners to use this playlist for this month when you are feeling low, and it will bring you right back up again. As soon as you hear these songs, you will feel joy in your heart. And that is my contribution. That is my contribution to the world. That is what I always wanted in my heart, is for others to love the music as much as I did. So he says, okay, darlings, I'm going to let y'all go now. He's going to hand it back to me. And he said, but you are going to put that playlist together. So he wants me to work with him on that. Oh my God, he's so amazing. I love him so much. Okay, sorry. Just take a minute here. God, I love you, Freddie. Okay, so we're going to work on that next. This playlist. It's probably so amazing. We're going to need it. I'm here with you guys too. I mean, when I say that we're doing the work, I'm doing the work too. It's not just me telling you guys work needs to be done. Because if you're following me, here's what I'm finding. If you're following me, if you're listening to me, if you're enjoying what I do and you're participating with it in whatever way you are, through Instagram, through, my membership site, through my YouTube videos, whatever, you're someone who's committed to doing the work on your soul work. You're not somebody who's sitting idly by, not willing to learn and grow and ascend. Otherwise, you wouldn't be listening to me. You would think I was like some crazy lady. So we're doing this work for March, and if you're along for the ride, then I'm so excited to, share this journey with you. Really excited. For what's going to come, So if you, man, I just gotta dry these tears a minute. So here's how you can take your work deeper this month if you want to work alongside me. So I'm going to be, I'm not entirely sure. I think this is going to be a weekly podcast. If not, it's going to be every 2 weeks. Just to keep us going. The membership site that I'm talking about, it's called Stardust Gateway, is going to be opening up towards the end of next week, sometime after the new moon, and I will be announcing that. I'm only on Instagram right now in terms of social media. This podcast, though, is going to go up on YouTube, Apple, and there's one other place, I think, and I'll be putting it on my website as well. So there's multiple opportunities there to interact with me. And then my YouTube channel is the other place where all of my light language and quantum healing and stuff is out there on the TLC for the Soul YouTube channel. And then my books and my audiobooks are out on my Tammy Lynn Chambers YouTube author channel. So if you resonate with me and you want to follow along, then please, follow me on Instagram at Tammy Lynn Chambers. Subscribe to my YouTube channels and, put the notifications on so you get notified of when new things are coming out. And then pop over to my website and, sign up for my newsletter or, sign up for the monthly Stardust Gateway membership. And, it's all good. I'm excited to meet and see everyone in whatever form and whatever way that our souls' paths may cross. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining me here. I'm going to close out again with this song from my son, and in the description of this video, I'm going to put his YouTube site where he has this music. And he's got a couple of silly YouTube channels, but I told him, dude, you need to start a YouTube channel with this music. And he's so reluctant to post his music. But he has over 200 songs recorded. And I'm like, okay, are you dimming your light, buddy? Because you're posting silly stuff, which is funny. He has a funny YouTube channel where he does funny stuff. And he has like thousands of subscribers. But the music side of him is what I'm working on him now, putting himself out there more and being confident in his musical abilities. So I hope you enjoy this song that was gifted to me by him. And we will be talking to you all again soon. And we thank Freddie Mercury for showing up today. And as soon as I have that playlist that Freddie's going to put together for us, basically, then I will put that out there for everybody. So thank you again. Thank you. Here to support souls in the consciousness shift to New Earth. So I thank you for enjoying Ascend.